The first half of this video series presented a set of arguments about and examples of visual rhetoric. Here are a few more, but these are anchored to theory, scholarship, and definitions of visual rhetoric. In the Rhetorical Handbook, Anno Aces and Ellen Lupton drag rhetoric into the contemporary age and situate it specifically for graphic designers, arguing that rhetoric can provide a set of tools to aid people to be successful communicators. Their claims resonate nicely with those of Anne Wysocki. Wysocki argues that visuals are part of the larger means of persuasion available. So visual rhetoric is nothing particularly new, as these petroglyphs point toward, along with this illuminated manuscript, and these ways of using the body rhetorically. The rhetorical means of persuasion, according to the Western canon, shouldn't be new to you. They are ethos, or the appeal to character, logos, or the appeal to reason, and pathos, or the appeal to emotion. I often situate ethos, logos, and pathos with context, purpose, and audience. These are 6 variables that together provide a powerful way of considering different texts. For instance, we might look at campaign materials for the 2012 presidential campaign. Think about the audience, purpose, and context of each of these, where they appeared, how they were used, what they were meant to do. Also consider the ways in which they function rhetorically. Each of these uses all capital letters, for instance. How might this stylistic decision appeal to credibility, or character, or ethos? Or how, for instance, does the serious dark gray background of the Romney image convey logos, or appeals to logic? How might it present an argument that it's logical to vote for Romney? Or how might the soaring eagle icon in the Santorum image create emotional appeal or pathos? A powerful tool that Aces and Lupton offer are the Western canons revised for contemporary application. So, if invention is historically thought of as the discovery of plausible arguments in supporting material, we might revise that. So invention is a phase of research and concept development. This example is from a project a student did in creating a role-playing game that was based in the 1940s. To invent a realistic setting, he researched and gathered 1940s era declassified CIA materials and reports that he used as models for the documents he generated. Another student example for a logo design project. In the invention phase, this student worked in the process of competitive review, gathering and looking at other logos that worked from the concept of logic. A similar example, a student working on her senior thesis browsed Amazon.com titles for literary nonfiction collections on themes similar to hers. If arrangement historically meant the arrangement of arguments for oral delivery, arrangement today might include organization, layout, and planning. This is a very basic initial layout for a portfolio website navigation. This is a more robust arrangement of the components of a website, often called a wireframe. These are examples of a logo design project a student was working on for a timeshare her father owned. You can see the different ideas she had for the arrangement of the textual and visual information. This is an earlier and then a further along version of the arrangement of information for a poster presentation a student was working on for a national social sciences conference. Style historically related to the fit of proper language to argument based on considerations like appropriateness and correctness. We might rethink style as stylistic choices in visualization of a concept. These are different stylistic deployments of a circle shape and letter forms designed to be used on a student's portfolio site. These are different text treatments of a student's name, again for inclusion on a portfolio site. These are iterations of the cover of a booklet a student designed to accompany a presentation he gave at a National Environmental Studies conference. You can see the different stylistic considerations he was deciding among as he revised. This This was a student's philosophical stance toward her portfolio style. And this is the stylistic result of that stance. Memory was the ability anchored to oral practices of grasping and understanding the material. Today, memory might better link to the skill and decisiveness of a presentation and the lasting memory created for viewers or readers. This is an interior page from a primarily text report I wrote some years ago while working on the redesign of the 4C's website. To make them visually stand out and to ideally make them most memorable, I put the key recommendations inside of text boxes. Katie used a play on the periodic table for her portfolio site navigation, which served as a brilliant identity marker for her. She's a science communicator, and a great, memorable anchor, which she deployed throughout her website. Finally, if delivery meant the control of elements in a presentation, today delivery might better reflect the execution of deliverables and the media choices made. These three examples show stylistic choices and arrangement, and see how these concepts pile up upon one another across a range of deliverables: a resume, letterhead, business card. This is an interior page for the report that the student produced to accompany his environmental issues presentation. For his particular purpose, a print-delivered report made the most sense, as conference goers could hold the brief 14-page report in their hands and refer to it as he spoke. The next few screens are pages from a digital booklet a student produced. She chose a song and then visually annotated the lyrics by taking her own original photography and then editing the photos in Photoshop. She chose to publish the booklet digitally as a PDF so more people would have access to the artwork. And finally, an example poster presentation. Although it's not readily obvious here, this presentation was created in PowerPoint by designing essentially one slide that was the size of a poster, then printed at actual poster size. This particular medium made it easy for the students to import their text and graphics and to then produce the poster on the main library's platter printer. Cindy Self offers what I think is a maybe purposefully clunky but very lovely definition of visual literacy. She situates it as I situate it for this class, related to understanding and analyzing, and also to using and creating. And she also ties visual literacy tightly to historical and cultural constructions. Karen Shriver, whose book Dynamics and Document Design, which is perhaps the most important book on visual communication in existence right now, describes document design. So you can see we're kind of skirting a bit here, right? Visual literacy, document design. Shriver's definition really appeals to me. Shriver also advocates consistently for readers and users and situates writing and document design in tandem with changing devices, tools, and spaces. Maureen Goggin gets directly at how slippery visual rhetoric is and how it can be deployed to study everything from texts on pages to public memorials. If we turn back to Aces and Lupton, they remind us that one way we can approach this is to not parcel things out, but rather to recognize that meaning is a matter of relationships. Mary Hocks and Michelle Kendrick similarly noted that the relationships between the visual and the verbal are dialogic, and that we should perhaps celebrate and work at the connections of words and images, rather than work to pull them apart. Anne Wysocki, along with encouraging us to turn our eyes back to Aristotle, also reminded us that we can't ignore our bodies, our messy, gendered, raced, aged, nationalized, digesting bodies. Indeed, our bodies are our most important writing machines. So this is just a couple of takeaways from all of this, and these are takeaways that scaffold this week's activities and the rest of this class. As I would argue, and obviously as others have argued, writing and design are inherently connected. Form cannot be separated from function. Writing means more than just words on a page or on a screen. As writers, we have to be aware of the multiple media making and meaning making tools available to us, and how to best draw upon those based on context, audience, purpose, and more. Writing, if we draw on Karen Shriver, means designing and architecting information, and designing useful, readable, audience-appropriate documents and media presentation requires critical, thoughtful, careful rhetorical consideration.